Welcome to the From Burnout to Recovery show with your host, Dr. Kate. This is where your journey to burnout recovery starts. Are you feeling overwhelmed or like work has become unmanageable? Join me and my guests for open and honest conversations about burnout recovery from the comfort of the front porch. I am here to help you build your resilience and prepare you for burnout in a whole new way through a variety of perspectives. Move past the idea that burnout can only be addressed by avoidance and work to integrate recovery into your daily life. Relax, take a breath. The From Burnout to Recovery show starts now. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the From Burnout to Recovery show with Dr. Kate on Transformation Talk Radio. I'm your host, Dr. Kate, and I'm excited to welcome you to the show today. As you're enjoying the show, remember, if you haven't yet, be sure to subscribe, leave us 5 stars and a review highlighting your favorite part of the show. Today, we are going to be joined by our guest, Chelsie Ward. Chelsie Ward has a background in applied behavior analysts, is a registered nurse, FDN practitioner, energy healer, and certified in functional medicine. She is the author of Healed His Way, where she shares natural healing techniques that have been used by thousands of others so that they can experience health the way it was intended. It was her personal journey of being failed by the traditional medical system that offered no resolution to her digestive issues and hormone imbalances. This led to a final breaking point in her own health. As she searched for answers, she learns that food is medicine and our bodies are created to heal themselves. She helps women transition after birth control so they can balance hormones naturally, improve digestion, and feel confident in the body they love. Chelsie, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Kate.
Yeah, I am really excited to have you because I think that, I've been doing more exploration in terms of kind of the functional medicine piece. I recently went off birth control myself to just kind of see what my natural body and where I was naturally at with hormones was like. And, considering I'm 43. So I was yeah, I've been on it for a long time, probably need to go off. So I am just excited that we can kind of lean into this part of the conversation and how it impacts us in burnout. But to get us started, if you would just tell us a little bit more about yourself and your own experience with burnout and your own journey to recovery.
Yeah, thank you so much. My journey started young, and I think I was just kind of that go-go child, that type A personality. I want to be successful. I want to do the things, I was just reflecting on that as I was thinking about this show. And I remember my grandmother always said, I want you to be a doctor, and I just wanted to push for that. They expected me to be successful. I felt that as a child, and maybe I put that more on myself than they ever did. But I think it's just, we can be really hard on ourselves. And I went through my own little journey where I was getting physically ill. I was, suffering with anxiety, suffering with depression, even at a young age. I always had digestive issues. Mm-hmm. And, a lot of these things can be attributed to stress. By the time I was 12 years old, I was put on birth control for, just horrific cycles. Mm-hmm. And I was staying home from school. I was cramping. So I went through a lot of different illnesses. And I think I was just, for the most part, pushing myself way too hard. And by the time I was in my mid-20s, that's really when I started burning myself out. Mm-hmm. I was pushing myself to, go to school during the day. I was working at night. I was just pushing myself to have that other job. Do I need to get another degree? What's next for me? And I was just constantly working. And my health really started to fail when I was actually in nursing school. Mm. And that's kind of when I hit my lowest point. I think my immune system was probably already pretty weak. And on top of the fact, I was trying to work, go to school at the same time, and just the stress of school in itself. And I just started fading. I was exhausted all the time. I would take 4-hour naps on the couch every day. I would peel myself off. I'm fueling myself on caffeine just to keep going. Sugar addiction was a part of my story as well, because it's it was that instant, immediate energy that I needed to just perk myself up and get going. And, I think that was just a combination of things that really kept me in that loop. And burnout for me, I knew it was coming. Mm. It was almost like I would get this little whisper, like this internal knowing, like, Chelsie, you got to slow down. Like, you got to stop. Your body is exhausted.
Yeah.
Your mind is exhausted. And I remember I would just be driving. I would get out of clinicals and I would take a nap before I would go home. I was that exhausted, like having to pull over in Cracker Barrel. That was one of my favorite spots, really quiet place. And I would just take a nap. And if I had long drives, I was constantly napping. And I finally hit the point to where I just couldn't anymore. My organs literally started failing. They wanted to take my gallbladder. By the time I was 27, I was already in perimenopause. And, if you think about that from a hormonal standpoint, you're driving your hormones and your adrenals and everything's so hard. You're just they have nothing else to give. So I think that was my wake up call at age 27 when I said, I really need to do something different and learn to slow down.
Wow. There's so many things about your story that I connect with, and I'm sure our listeners do too, that I think that aspect of like that continuous going, like, do I get another degree? Do I get another job? That go and go and go and go that so many of us experience and have been taught that like, that's the way things should be, and the struggle of slowing down with that. But I think I'm really struck by the impact that your body was basically just like, I'm done with this cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that, we can reflect back on those times. And if you've ever been through burnout, or if you're in the process of going through burnout, you think you're in burnout, you're listening to this show because you're like, maybe I am in burnout, or you're trying to peel yourself out of it. I know for me, it really helped me just to reflect back on my childhood and think, why would I drive myself to this point? Like, what is it that would cause me to like hit this place where I'm just like, I've allowed life to completely exhaust me. Yeah. And I reflect back on my childhood, and there was this place where I felt like I had to be successful, right? My dad was an entrepreneur. I had that same spirit, that entrepreneurial spirit. And I thought, well, if I just push this to the side and I keep going, then it's all going to disappear. It'll all work out. If I just keep pushing harder, then that's really when my breakthrough happens. And then I can slow down. And like, we're always waiting till that next breakthrough, which never comes, because if you've ever been through burnout, I've actually been through burnout twice. And that's really sad to say. My most recent one was just like a wake up call, like very recent for me. And I was just like, what are you doing? Here you are again. You put yourself in this place, like no boundaries, no anything, just because you're an entrepreneur doesn't mean you are an entrepreneur 24/7. And,
message I think that I need to hear today and just internalize a little bit too. Right.
Yeah, exactly. And we all do it. This is, we're so similar. We're such similar creatures. Yeah. And it's really about, at the end of the day, we just have to slow down. We have got to choose to slow down and realize that whatever is ours, whatever belongs to us is going to come, but it's not going to come from a place of striving. We actually probably do more damage from the place of striving and toiling than we do if we just sit back and say, you know what, I'm open to receiving, and I'm going to do the things that are the most productive to move me forward today. And whatever I don't get to, even if I owe someone an apology for overcommitting, I'm just going to do that and learn from that lesson, grab onto that humility and just keep and move forward, but really take care of myself in the process.
What are some of the things that you do now in your day to day that help encourage that, like that slowing down for yourself?
I love that question. It's going to be different for everybody. So personally, I think I really have to take that time in the mornings to just center and ground myself. And that is my time. Like no one is allowed in that space. And it's a time where I read something encouraging. I listen to something encouraging. It almost like feeds me, just encourages me. And then I take a few moments just to meditate and breathe. And you might think of the word meditate and you're like, yeah, I'm not really there. And that's okay. If you will just kind of pause for a few minutes, the most simple thing that you can do, and this is probably one of the hardest things that I prescribe to my clients today, and that is sit down and just breathe. And it's as simple as pausing for a few minutes and taking a deep breath in through your nose, like breathing all the way into your belly for maybe a count of 4, like breathe in 2, 3, 4, and out 2, 3, 4. And then you're just going to keep repeating that for 10 times if you can, for 2 minutes if you can. The great thing about that breath work is, and there's a lot of different techniques you can use. YouTube will help you with a lot of that. It's a great trainer. And the greatest thing about that is that it really calms your nervous system. So because it's that physical response to the body, if we think about the state of the body that we're in, when we're in that really stressed out state, we're breathing through our chest, our heart's racing, our mind's racing. We're thinking about the next thing, like what's coming next. We're running into walls if you're like me. And it's like you're in a state of panic almost. But if you force yourself, like, I don't care if you have to put stickers all over your house to remind you, slow down, breathe. Breathing is something that we do all day, every day. And it's one of our greatest tools. We just don't utilize it. But if we did, we can actually calm our nervous system, because that physical calming of the nervous system that takes place when we're just breathing in really slowly. Number one, we're focused on the breath. We're focused on that counting. Our mind isn't thinking about 1,000 things because we're counting the breaths. We're breathing in and out. We're slowing down the heart rate when we do that. We're breathing into our diaphragm. And that really calms the nervous system as well. That we finally get air into parts of our lungs that we probably haven't seen in a very long time. And it improves digestion. It improves our reproductive health. It improves our brain health. It can clear out brain fog, all these different things. And sometimes chronic pain, if we're in a state of pain, a lot of times it's just because the body is so stressed out. And the air that we're breathing is a huge piece of that. That's one thing that we can change and transform our health. So one, that's me, is the breath work. And then the other thing is just really taking breaks through the day to step away from what you have. And it doesn't matter if it's like a 5-minute break, a 2-minute break. Schedule yourself to where you can just pause between meetings, for 2 minutes and say, hey, got to jump off, and literally stop and breathe, or go outside and walk. If you live in a place where you can just jump outside and do a few laps, even around your house or down the driveway, if that's what you have. So.
Yeah, I appreciate like both those aspects. As you were talking about kind of that morning, your morning routine, and that's time and space for yourself. I know that that's something that I generally do for myself as well. And these last couple of weeks, I hadn't been, I wasn't doing my journaling. I wasn't doing I pull tarot cards each morning. I do the breathing and kind of like 10 minutes of just kind of breath work and meditation and those kind of things, just allowing like thoughts to just kind of flow through me as opposed to attaching a lot of meaning to them, and had really gotten out of that habit and got back into it the last couple of days. And it's definitely something like I notice a huge, like vast difference in myself throughout the day when I gave myself back those 30 minutes of time to just kind of recenter and start my morning in that positive way. So I'm so glad that you brought that up for our listeners.
Yeah, we feel like it has to be this long, drawn out experience for us to do things. And we do not give 5 minutes enough credit. I mean, truly. Absolutely. 5 minutes of meditation, 5 minutes of walking, 5 minutes of breathing. I mean, truly 5 minutes here and there through your day can change your life. And I like to think of it like we can try to get that 30 minutes of meditation in every day and fail and feel like a big failure. Yeah. And at the end of the year, if we add up all the time, like how much time did we really meditate? Where if we did 5 minutes every single day and it was something that we could truly commit to, the habit and the consistency is going to transform our life and our health. And we can do that in 5 minutes a day.
Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah. The micro step, like that small piece of just that 5 minutes a day and allowing yourself that moment to pause and breathe and focus on the breath and allow your nervous system to just chill out a little bit is so very important. I'm curious in regard to kind of the functional medicine space and those kinds of things. What is maybe one other thing that like every human could be aware of that could greatly impact their health?
I'm a big fan of nutrition. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go in that direction. One, I think inflammatory foods are they're driving poor gut health, and they're driving, stress on the hormones, stress on the adrenals, which, this is all about burnout. Mm-hmm. So we're really talking about our adrenal health. Yeah. Like inflammatory foods are impacting the entire body negatively. So my favorite ones to remove are things like gluten, dairy, sugar. Some people, if you're not into those menopausal years, I like soy if you're, into those menopausal years, but maybe not necessarily if you're younger, you may not need that extra estrogen. And then hydrogenated oils, things like seed oils, cottonseed, canola, safflower, sunflower, all those oils, they're really toxic to the body. So removing those inflammatory foods. And then the other piece of that is just slowing down before meals. Like the digestion piece is huge. If we're in a state of stress, we're not digesting appropriately. We're not assimilating our nutrients appropriately. So 2 things I like to do is just slow down and breathe, maybe 10 deep breaths in, just like we did a few minutes ago. And then pause and chew your food. Now, some people are going to say, count your chews. I don't get into that. I'm not a calorie counter. I'm not a chew counter. And I just like to say, chew your food to the consistency of salsa, or break it down enough to where you can't really detect what it is in your mouth. And that's going to mix those digestive enzymes with it. I've watched indigestion, GERD, all those diagnoses completely disappear when people start chewing their food.
Yeah.
Because your stomach does not have teeth, right? You got to break it down. You're asking your stomach to do a lot with stomach acid that the mouth should do with your teeth before we put it down there. So just those couple of things, from a functional medicine standpoint, we think of functional medicine as like all these supplements and, injections and all these things. And the truth is functional is the key word there. And it's things that we can add into our day every single day. Most of functional medicine is actually free.
Yeah. I love that piece. And, I'm sure we have listeners who are like, oh, I'm not quite ready to give up on some of those inflammatory foods. And we hear you on that. But I think I think the piece of like slowing down and like that mindful eating and just chewing our food and really enjoying our meals is something that each of us can find the time, create the time to do that instead of this kind of rush eating that a lot of us have probably gotten ourselves into the habit of doing. So I love that piece. If you were to offer our audience members one additional piece of advice, what would that be?
I'm a big fan of tuning into your body. I believe that when we truly just pause and tune into our body, we can intuitively know what to do in that moment to give our body exactly what it needs. And if you kind of ignore your intuition, then it disappears. So you might be thinking, like my body doesn't tell me what to do, but it does. If you have to take like lactase to digest dairy, your body's speaking to you. Yeah. It doesn't want dairy. Period. End of story. Like the pill is not, the pill isn't the answer. The answer is get off dairy, right? So those little things, those little pieces, the intuition, just tuning in. And you're going to find that the more you do that, the more you're going to realize what your body is asking for. We all have it. It's the way that I healed my body, truly.
Yeah.
Is going from a world of medications, running, going, and that first little knowing, Chelsie, slow down. And it was like, wait a minute, what is that? And then you get sick, super, super sick, completely burned out, and realize, oh, yeah, I was actually told to do that.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to call it, wherever you want to say it comes from, you just know sometimes. You know what you need to do a lot of times. And sometimes we don't. I'm not saying that we know every time. We still have to think and process decisions, but it's really just go with that and go with that little intuition next time you get it and just see what happens. That's my call to action for you today.
Yes. Yeah. That's an amazing call to action. Just tune into your body and be curious about what it's telling you and explore what your body is telling you in those spaces. And that will help you find the answers or connect you with someone who can help you find the answers. And I love that. Chelsie, if our audience members would like to connect with you more, where should they find you?
Thank you, Dr. Kate. It's Chelsie Ward Wellness, pretty much everywhere. You can look up my name, Chelsie Ward, and it's CHELSIE. My website is chelsieward.com. You can shoot me a message. I have a contact form there if you need to shoot me an email. If you want to look me up or follow me on social media, I'm Chelsie Ward Wellness on Facebook, Instagram, and I'm now on TikTok. I'm trying to keep up with the times here. So you can find me there as well.
Amazing. And of course, dear listeners, we have all those links available for you in the show notes. Chelsie, thank you again so much for joining us on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
Huge thank you to our guest today, Chelsie Ward, for that awesome conversation in regard to functional health and how that impacts us just in our health and overall, but also just our management of burnout and stress and the adrenal glands and all of those things that impact us in that piece. We talked a little bit about that mindful eating. And as a plug for next week's show, be sure to tune in to next week's show because our recovery moment is actually a mindful eating with chocolate. So that is a great way for you to show up for the show. When you listen, have your piece of chocolate or a couple pieces of chocolate ready to go for that. And we're going to talk more about that mindful eating and how to slow down. But for today, we're going to move into our recovery moment, which is really about mindfulness regarding our speech. So really, how do we be more mindful in the words we use, both to ourselves and to others? And again, that mindfulness and being mindful and creating a mindful practice around anything is about that option of slowing down so that we can fully process and be present in those situations. So let's go ahead and get started with our recovery moment for today. All right, dear listeners, let's go ahead and get yourself into a comfortable position. Let's go ahead and take a few deep breaths. Let's breathe in through our nose and out. In through our nose and out. And as you are sitting comfortably in that quiet place where you can be free from distractions, go ahead and sit up tall for me, comfortably grounding your hips and then lengthening your spine. Allow a spaciousness in your chest by slightly shifting your shoulders down and back. Let your arms relax with your palms resting easily in your lap. Breathe quietly in and out through your nose. With your eyes closed, notice your breath. Take a moment to settle in as you feel the breath moving from your nostrils up towards the crown of your head and then past your throat, past your chest, and down your belly. Maintain an easy and relaxed breath. Breathing in and out. In and out. In and out. Now draw awareness to your throat. Visualize a warm and glowing red or blue light at your throat. Your throat chakra is located behind your Adam's apple and in front of your spine, or wherever you feel a tiny knot of energy in the throat area. Picture this light here as alive, pulsing, and vibrating, a red or blue orb of energy, or like a horizontal disc made of light. And then as you hold awareness in this area, as you make your way through the following commitments and contemplations, begin by silently to yourself, I commit to always telling the truth. Contemplate what that means to you, all the while aware of the sensation in your body and in the throat. Notice what arises as you promise to be truthful. Notice if there's a resistance or tightness in the body. Is there any closing off? And notice too if there's a feeling of lightness, openness, spaciousness. I commit to always telling the truth. Let's breathe in and out. And a nice big breath in and out. One more in and out. And now say silently to yourself, I commit to using my words to bring people together, and I will refrain from divisive speech. Contemplate what that means to you. What it means to speak in ways that connect rather than divide. Notice the vibration of energy at your throat and notice any sensation that arises in your body. Stay free from any stories related to this commitment and free from judging yourself or others. Just notice what happens when you say, I commit to refraining from divisive speech. I will use my words to bring people together. Let's breathe in and out. In and out. One more in through your nose. And let that breath slowly release out. And say silently to yourself, I commit to speaking kindly and gently, never yelling or using my words to hurt others. Contemplate what that means to you. As you deepen awareness of the red or blue light at your throat, reflect upon your tone of voice, the volume of your voice, the tempo of your voice, and notice what arises in your body as you say silently, I commit to speaking gently, never using my words to hurt myself or others. Let's breathe in and out. Nice soft breath in and release and relax as you breathe out. A breath in and let it flow out. Say silently to yourself, I commit to only speaking when necessary. I will refrain from idle chatter. Contemplate what this means to you. In what ways do you speak unnecessarily? In what ways do you speak simply to fill silence, to avoid something, or to serve your ego? Hold awareness in the body as a whole, and especially the throat chakra as you contemplate this commitment. I will speak meaningfully, and I will avoid useless speech. Let's breathe in and let that breath out. Deep breath in, relaxing breath out. Deep breath in and out. Now feel back into the area of your throat, the orb or disc of red or blue light. Feel its warmth, its aliveness, its energy. See it pulsing and vibrating with every cycle of breath or with every heartbeat. Feel back into the breath itself. Watch, feel, notice as the breath comes in through your nose, as it moves up towards the crown of your head and down past your throat, into your chest, into your belly. Let the area of your throat feel spacious, unobstructed, alive, and vibrant. Notice how smoothly the breath flows up and down past this space. Rest in the spaciousness for as long as you'd like. As we close the meditation, remember your commitments and make a promise to carry those commitments and your mindfulness into the rest of your day. Let's take one more nice deep breath together in and let that breath out. As you are ready, slowly open your eyes and rejoin the space around you. Dear listeners, I am so grateful for you joining me on the show today, and I am incredibly grateful to our guest, Chelsie Ward, for her advice in that piece. Remember, as you are enjoying the show, if you haven't yet, be sure to subscribe, give us those 5 stars, write a review on your favorite part, and be sure to share this with a friend who maybe needs to hear this message as well. Remember, for more recovery moments, you can follow me at Dr. Kate Steiner on Instagram, and be sure to subscribe to the From Burnout to Recovery Show YouTube channel. Thank you for joining us today on the From Burnout to Recovery Show with Dr. Kate on Transformation Talk Radio. I'm Dr. Kate, and I wish you peace on your journey. Thank you for joining me on the front porch today. Remember that you can download your free guide on how to recover from burnout in 2 hours a week on my website, drkatesteiner.com. And as always, be well, my friends. Thank you for joining me, Dr. Kate, on the From Burnout to Recovery Show, where you are starting your journey to burnout recovery. You are invited to join me on the front porch every second and fourth Friday of the month on transformationtalkradio.com to continue growing in resilience and integrating recovery into your daily life. If you would like to learn more or find out how to work with me, visit liftwellnessconsulting.com.